I'm joined here today by the one, the only, of course, talking about a man that was victorious at Bellator 260, Mark Lemminger. What's going on, sir? How are you?
I'm doing good.
Glad to hear that, man. Especially coming off this big win, right? It sounded like there was a lot of stuff going on before the fight. You were saying you had your back against the wall, so I assume it must have felt pretty good getting the victory in this one.
Oh, it felt great. A lot of hard work paid off.
Where's your headspace at going into this fight? Because we saw, you were saying to the media you had your back against the wall, stuff like that. You weren't too happy with your past fights. Where's your headspace at before a fight like this?
Um, I don't know. There was a little bit of pressure, but I mean, at the end of the day, every fight you're going to enter, you want to win no matter what. That doesn't matter what your last fights were. You're going to have that pressure to want to win. Um, I don't know. I knew coming off of two losses, it was pretty important for me to pull off the win. So I was pretty determined.
So what's training look like before a fight like this? Is it just like any other training camp, or do you have to kind of switch things up? I know some guys like to switch things up. Some guys like to stick to the normal stuff.
I like pretty routine. He wasn't anything that I haven't seen before, so there was really no need to really change things up too much. I don't know. I'm a routine guy. I like just getting my work in for the day.
Well, what's communication like with Bellator before a fight like this? Are they saying anything to you? Are they saying, like it's important to get a win or anything like that? Are they communicating with you at all?
No, actually, not too much. But I had that vibe just because every interview I had, they brought up my last two fights. So they didn't need to communicate anything to me. I knew the importance of the win.
Well, what are your thoughts when you hear stuff like that? People are bringing on the last two wins. Some guys they don't like to look at that. Some guys like to focus. What do you think when you hear that? I assume at some point it gets a little bit frustrating.
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't bother me. It's part of your story. They're going. It's the way it goes. I don't really look into it a whole lot. You know what I mean? I'm just focusing on the fight. What the fans and the media want to focus on, that's their thing. But at the end of the day, I'm the one fighting, so it doesn't really matter what anybody else is thinking.
And so you do go out there, you get the big knockout second round. How do you look back on your performance? I know some guys are super critical and stuff like that. How did you feel about this one?
I felt good. He didn't fight me the way I expected him to fight me. But I don't know. I'm good at adapting. Um, well, to be honest with you, I've only got to watch the first round. I'd like to see the second round, then I could give you a better answer about my performance. It's tough in the thick of a fight. It's tough to remember everything that goes on. Um, but I mean, I don't know, a second round TKO, that's a good performance no matter how you look at it.
So what happens mentally? You're in a fight like that, and some guys they watch tape, some guys don't watch tape because of reasons like this. But you realize he's not fighting you the way you thought. What starts going through your mind mentally?
It doesn't bother me much. I I know going into a fight, anything can happen. It's at the end of the day, it's a fist fight. So I watch the film on his last few fights. I get a game plan put together, but I'm ready to stray from that game plan at any time. I even talked about that with my coach. We had a game plan in play, but he knew there's a chance that game plan lasts, the first 10 seconds, and then it's just going to be a fight.
Can you prepare for something like adjusting on the fly? Like it's what separates the greats, right? But is that something you prepare? Or you just
No,
either you're a
that's,
fighter.
I think that's something that just comes from experience, from being in there as many times as I have, and then your background before MMA with wrestling. I think that helped me. I've been in combat sports since I've been in second grade, so I know that there's going to be times you just got to adapt, and you know, you got to figure it out on the fly.
You mentioned being in combat sports in second grade. What does that mean for you going through phases like high school, middle school, where guys are more, guys are trying to fight you a lot more in those kind of grades? What did that do for you? Because I assume you walk with that kind of confidence, like, go ahead, let's see what happens.
Yeah, believe it or not, in high school and middle school, I didn't have that much of. I shouldn't say that. I got my fair share of fights back then, but when I really got in my fights was right out of high school. When you're hanging out at bars and you're the young guy. That's where I got in a lot of fights. But I mean, I don't know. I was able to handle myself very well, so that kind of led me to where I'm at now a little bit.
So does getting into those kind of fights, is part of it the confidence that you know you can handle yourself in that situation? Some guys, they don't realize they can fight until somebody punches them in the face and they have to react.
Yeah. Um, yeah. I found out pretty quick that I was good at fighting. Um, and I didn't, I don't know. I didn't grow to like fighting probably until I got into mixed martial arts, Um, but when I sit down and look back at it now, I mean, fighting's been a part of my life since as long as I can remember. Whether it was good or bad, it just, I don't know. I've always been a little bit of a wild child, and fighting is just, it comes second nature to me a little bit.
So what made you finally start to like fighting? Is it the fact that it was disciplined, or when you started learning the martial arts? Like, what was it that led you to actually like it?
Started to learn a little bit about it. When you're when like we were talking earlier, when you're in a bar fight or a street fight, you're basically just going off of instinct, and your wrestling experience. But once you start to learn, the boxing side of things or the grappling end of things, it becomes fun and it becomes interesting, and you get to prepare for a different style of fighting, and it becomes more than just a fight. I mean, I also like a good firefight once in a while where you just throw caution to the wind, but the side of things where you're preparing for somebody, that's what's interesting to me.
So you do come from a wrestling background, but what's the most fun thing for you? Like when you think about the all the martial arts and everything, is there one that kind of stands out over another?
I really fell in love with boxing. I'm just kind of breaking into it. That's a sport that is so in depth. But I like it. I enjoy it. Um, but it's tough because I really like grappling. With wrestling, grappling kind of came firsthand for me. So um, I like all of it. I really do, and I think that's why I'm able to take these short notice fights because I enjoy going to practice. It's tough for me to take a day off because I like martial arts as much as I do. So it kind of works hand in hand for me.
And so with this Bellator card, there was also, the main event welterweight title fight. But for you, there was also your former opponent on there. Was that a fight you were paying attention to at all?
Yeah, Bellator gave us some tickets to go back to the fights after ours, so I made sure showered right away because I wanted to watch that fight. That's kind of the way I saw it going. I knew, obviously Lima's a great fighter, so I knew there's a chance that Lima was gonna catch him with something, which he almost did in that fifth round with an armbar. Um, but I was pretty confident Yaroslav was going to pull off the victory on that one.
A lot of people were kind of disappointed in that one. I guess they were expecting, all the leg kicks that we normally see and stuff like that.
Yeah,
What did you think watching that fight? Were you a little bit
I wasn't
disappointed?
disappointed at all. That was people sometimes they forget. Wrestling and grappling that's a part of the sport. If you want to just watch a kickback boxing match, you're watching the wrong sport. I think Yaroslav did exactly what he needed to do to get that win. I don't think you take anything away from him.
Well, was it strange to you seeing like a former opponent of yours fighting for a world title, becoming champion? Like, I assume it's got to be a little bit weird seeing, like, I was in the cage with the champion not that long ago.
No, it was cool, but I mean, I knew when I was fighting him, he's that caliber. I think where we're at, where I'm at, the level I'm at, and everybody else in Bellator, we're all good enough to beat each other. What it comes down to is showing up that day and performing that night. So I don't know. It was cool. I'm happy for him. But yeah, I guess that's a cool experience. It's something I can hang my hat on. I fought the champion. Hopefully I can work back to get that rematch. But it was cool.
So, what's next for you after this fight? I mean, you're back on track with things with Bellator. Are we going to continue seeing you in the Bellator cage going forward?
Yeah, yeah. I'm more than happy with Bellator. That was the last fight on my contract, so we'll have to talk about a new contract. But yeah, I'm not looking for anything else. Bellator's treated me pretty good, and I'd like to get another fight rolling with them pretty soon.
So, it's a little bit tricky with the contract negotiations and stuff, but I always like to end the interview with the classic, who do you want next? And realistically, when do you think we're going to see you fight again?
So I get that question a lot, and if I'm going to be totally honest, I'm not. I'm not good at following the guys in my division. And when I train for my fights, but when I'm not training for my fights, I like to shut off from MMA, and I got other hobbies that I like to do. So it's tough for me to call somebody out because I don't know a lot of the guys in my division. You know what I mean? That's a weird thing for you to hear from a guy in fighting in Bellator, but it's just the truth. Um, so I honestly, I don't, I've never strayed away from a fight. They'll Bellator will give me a name and a date, and I'd like to get in there. You know, I'd like to have a little break, but then I'm ready to jump back in there in a month or two. You know.
All right, there we go. Well, it's the honest answer, not one we hear often.
Yeah, yeah. It's the truth though, man. It really is.
Well, thank you so much for the time, man. I really appreciate it. Enjoy this victory, and hopefully we'll see you fight again soon and in Bellator sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Thank you.